Et bonjour à tous. Bonjour à tous, je vous parle en français pendant encore quelques secondes parce qu'on va passer le reste du stream en anglais. So, welcome everyone. Those who are here and not used to Radio LOL. We are welcoming Crownie, Crownshot. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for being here with us. We're gonna have a little talk on your split and on LEC too, because there was a lot of games this weekend. So I hope everyone in the chat speaks decent English. I'm pretty sure French people always speak perfect English, as you already know when you were you were with us on Vitality last year.
Yeah.
So how was because we played, I mean, I coached, but we were in the same team last year for not too long, like it was like 1 month and a half. It was actually not like we had pretty decent result given the situation during this month and a half, but I think the split was too late. Then I mean, you guys, I think you guys became pretty good during summer, but I mean, we got 3-2 by Fnatic. I think it was maybe one of the hardest BO of Fnatic during the summer split.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the first point, I think there were some games in spring that we could have easily won, and then I think we would be pretty close to playoffs. I think there was like one Astralis game and then one SK game. Both should probably be won. Then we would be at 6 or 7 wins maybe, but it was pretty brief, I would say. Like I think I joined right before week 5 or week 4 or week 5, yeah. So, but I think we improved pretty fast. I remember.
Yeah, I think I have a nice memory of this moment at Vitality. I think we had a decent last run, and then so this year you are with BDS. So I think we're gonna start with talking about your split at BDS.
Sure.
I remember you were pretty hyped about this year at the beginning of the split. So first, my question is: are you satisfied of the split? Even if it's always, because it's always bittersweet to lose a final 3-2, but you are in a sense an inch from winning it all. I think Dominate summed it up pretty well. Like you lost the BO 3-2 while winning 4 games. So what do you feel about? How do you feel about this split?
Yeah, I mean, to touch like fast, last summer was pretty disappointing because I actually think Fnatic was our worst matchup stylistically that we could get, because every other team we were beating in scrims pretty much whole summer. I mean, our scrim win rate was very high anyway, that split, but Fnatic was the team that gave us the most problems for sure. So I think that was just a bit unlucky. And I mean, then obviously the off season I was playing a lot of trials, talking to a lot of different teams, and then I ended up joining BDS, and I made it clear like at the start that my ambitions with the team are super high. Like I knew we had rookies like Cheo and stuff, but I told them what my goals are, and they pretty much agreed. So that's why I think we had a really good start, like 5-1. I remember. I think things were just clicking. I think other teams were not that good at the meta, at reading the meta yet. I think we had very early high Jinx Brio, and I think we were just playing well as a team. And other teams were not that good at that point. And then we had like the bad week in Nice. I mean, and then after that we slowly started working on pretty much simpler concepts, just contesting bridge, contesting Drake, playing on 2 lanes, herald trades or swaps, just the pretty much most basic things, and team fight. And I think we got better as time went on. I think it for sure helped us a ton. Like we actually played a full split in playoffs, so we played 18 games. So we actually have doubled the games of some teams, but I was sure we were gonna win the split after, or not sure, but I was very confident. I think we had a very high scrim win rate these past weeks. There was no team either in LFL or elsewhere that gave us problems. We were just winning against everyone. Stuff was pretty much clicking. It felt like we had a good meta read. I felt like I was very good at the Jinx of Helios matchup, which pretty much happened every game. We were also preparing for teams to ban those champs, but I feel like every team is sort of lost what to play if those two champs are out. So everyone just leaves them open and trades like one for one. Because
it's kind of gentleman agreement, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, it's like when you are in a situation where there is a champion that is so OP that is permaban for 1 month, and then people start to realize that it's actually not that OP, but no one wants to leave it open because you are too scared to play against something that you have not practiced against. So...
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I felt like I understood the matchup very well, so I was comfortable with both sides. Like there was a point where teams were just perma-banning Jinx against us, and then we're just playing a lot of Aphelios, and I think that champion has a lot of like tools to get ahead and stuff if you are good with him. So I think that helped us a lot, and I mean, I think our first best of 5 against Geo was very, very weak. Like you could see there was like a lot of nerves, and our map play was really bad. Like
before coming back to playoff, I wanted to touch on the split because I think you said you guys started really, really good, then had a huge slump after I think the first live event, as you said,
Nice.
After Nice. For me, I would say the two biggest improvement in because I think you have been good whole split. I think you yourself had a slight slump also after Nice, but I think you have been pretty good all split. R.2. I think Aggressivo has been ramping up, especially for playoff, but he was not bad either during the split. I think, however, Sheo and Zico, I think they were good at the very first, but I think quickly showed some issues. But I think they fixed it. I think especially Sheo, but Zico too. They improved because the thing is Zico has been really good in the past already. You know, I think he was in a slump at the beginning of the split, and I think he kind of became his former self again during playoffs. And Sheo, however, I mean he's a super rookie. Like he was, and it showed. You know, I remember we talked together, but when you were getting dived twice, I don't know, maybe against Vitality.
Vitality,
or top lane when Aggressivo gets dived
against K-Corp.
K-Corp. Like those were, I think, pretty obvious mistakes on Sheo, but I think he improved super fast, and like, I was very, very impressed about how efficient he was during playoffs. The thing is, like he's willing to play carry, but also to play the Yanko style, you know, like be there on slow push, be there on freeze, which is I think pretty rare for a rookie. So I wanted to have your opinion on how Sheo grew and maybe how you helped him going that way.
Yeah, I mean most of the credit should be given to coaching staff and Aggressivo. I mean obviously Sheo as well because he learned, right? But Aggressivo was working a lot with him pretty much after most games, telling him, oh, you know, you should buff here, you should cover here, move your camera here. So I think Aggressivo helped him a ton. Obviously coaching stuff as well, but I think there's always a different effect if a player also works with a different player, because when you see your teammate putting in the effort, you want to put in more effort too, right? So the effect is like more shown in that case. But I think I would give credit to all of them for that improvement, and Zico as well. I think at the start when we like in the first weeks, our scrim win rate was like absurd. I think it was like 80%. We pretty much couldn't lose to anyone. We were winning against our LEC team as well in the few games we played. So, and we were beating some bottom LEC teams as well. So I would say our level was very high, and it showed with our results. We had good meta read. I think other teams, as I said, didn't have that good meta read maybe. And I think it was the week where we 2-0'd LDLC and Vitality. I think we were very good at like pulling Drake, contesting correctly. Like we either pull to bot, pull to top, and teams kind of weren't really focusing that much on it yet. So we were like 5-1, and then I think in Nice we dropped the ball a bit. I think it was a bit nerves on stage as well. I think our draft was not optimal. I think we played like Diana Lulu, and we gave Mirage TF on 5. So so the game was pretty hard to play against like Nautilus TF with Lulu. So it was, I think, and then the next day against Misfits, we like killed them on top, on bot, and then we just completely messed up every like mid contest, every dragon. So we were just bad at the objective. I think we just choked. But then we started slow ramping up, and I think Zico kind of learned how to integrate himself with the team, better playing on the map, because there was a lot of moments where, so Agresivo was always opening correctly, right? Like, say he was going bot and I was mid, and
Wait,
Zico
just
would...
Crownshot, because I think
Sure.
we're gonna talk about this.
Sure.
Because I think they don't really I mean, some
Yeah.
some don't, especially the one who follow my reviews maybe do.
Mhm.
Opening is when there is a new play and you guys like the team
From
comes
base.
back on the map from base, exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes you open on 3 lanes, so everyone, for example,
Yes.
someone goes top, someone goes bot, and someone goes mid.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially according to discussion that we had a lot last year at Vitality, but also at Splice, at Mad Lions, etc., teams open on 2 lanes and leave another lane that would be dying and that you think you would lose a lot of resources, but because you are on 2 lanes, you have number advantage and you can force harder. So that's the concept.
Yeah, exactly. For example, a very good example that you can see in a lot of games. For example, you have Herald and you use it bot, and then you push the bot wave, you base, and then you don't go back bot lane, you just swap and go to top or mid, and then you're on 2 lanes. If anyone if anyone on the enemy team goes to bot, you can just make a play either on their mid side, that's either 2 or 3 people, which is weak, or on the guy that is alone top, right? Because you play off the concept of man advantage pretty much. If one of them is catching bot wave, it means cannot be in the other lanes, especially now the TP is nerfed before 14 minutes. So if you know someone is bot, you know he cannot be mid or top. So it's just a way to play with... you pretty much use a pushed lane as a champ. You use waves as champions. And so what was happening in mid game was that we were opening too greedily. For example, Zico was going top, Agresivo was bot, which means the mid unit cannot contest because they will get collapsed on. So I think me and Agresivo, and the coaching staff, but obviously in game it was mostly Agresivo and Zico talking to each other. But they worked a lot on this, and Agresivo really worked with Zico a lot on the concept, and you could see improvement because I think in playoffs, Zico had a very good playoffs. He was more aligned with the team, I would say. Obviously, I think it's hard for every player because, especially in solo queue, this concept does not exist, right? Everybody just plays for maximum economy and just to farm everything. Very greedy, but against the top teams, you quickly realize that if you don't play like this, you will get punished. There is for sure certain metas where this playstyle is worse or better, but I think in this one it's for sure better. Like there was a certain meta in like maybe 2019 or where like Ezreal was super high meta and like 1-3-1 comps like Akali, Irelia, and dragons were not so overpowered. But right now, most of the game is decided on dragon fights. It's not even the soul; it's just like the fact that teams will fight for it. So it's an opportunity for a fight. So it's very important how you set up on the map like 1 minute before. I think this is the number one concept that.
I think one of the biggest reasons, because I've been kind of theorizing this concept for years now, and the biggest change that pushed towards this direction is the change of minion behavior post 10 minutes and 15 minutes, which made that if a wave is not fully pushed, you are not going to lose CS on side. So
it's going to freeze forever.
Exactly, and so that means that if you have a silent that is fully pushed, then my cat is following me. Then you have time to go all the way on 2 lanes before you start even losing economy. And that means that when you use tempo correctly and you play fast on the map on 2 lanes, the enemy always has to react to you. But that's the concept. But as you said, the problem is that often it's solo laners who have to sacrifice short-term economy, not even necessarily long-term, but short-term economy, and it requires the 2 solo laners to talk to each other. And that's something that is actually way harder than people think, because to have the 2 solo laners, I would say, being mature enough
aligned
and able to communicate on this efficiently while realizing it properly in game, which is way harder to do than, for example, in my position to see it when watching a game. I think it's really really impressive, and looks like you guys found a good method, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it has to happen the second you're walking from base, and it can easily happen that one person just autopilots to like bot, and then he's like showing on the dead bot wave.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh wait, I can show on mid, or oh, if my top lane is showing on top, he's gonna get dove on next wave. So for sure, like it's kind of interesting because when you actually look for the concept in high level games, you see that all the top teams do it probably instinctively, right? Like they probably don't stay open on two lanes. They just know, okay, if one lane is pushed, I don't need to be there, right? And I remember last year I went looking. I think it was the Damon games. Then I showed you that they always were opening on two. Like Showmaker was always doing it very naturally, right? He would just push one side and then open on the other. But I think for a lot of people, the concept is not. I think sometimes they do it, but it's not like conscious, right? They just uh, maybe do it by chance, or they see like, oh, bot lane is fully pushed, I don't need to be there, but they don't understand maybe why it's so important, because obviously it's not so known. But I think all the top teams kind of do it just by either intuition or it's learned. But I think it's a very important thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think a lot of
pretty
top
much.
players know it. I mean, know
Yeah,
it
for sure.
instinctively, like
Yeah, I
players,
mean, yeah,
Perks, Edisang, players like this. I would say
yeah,
humanoid. I
sure.
think are players who kind of know it already.
Yeah, I mean, for example, when I joined and I saw Aggressivo talking about it, I was pretty impressed because he knew it better than some LEC players. So I was pretty impressed. But I think yeah, to the top players it comes either naturally or they learned it eventually. But I think it's a very important thing. Like as I said, in this meta, you're not ending the game on side. Like you're just not. It hasn't been like this for years now. So as you see, pretty much all games go to team fights and like objective setups and like trolling vision and chokes stuff. So it ties into this point of like, if you're not opening a map correctly and it's like 40 seconds to dragon 30, and one of your it was always this kind of concept with top laners in the past that I had sometimes, where they were like, yeah, it's fine if I show on side because I have TP, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't realize that them showing on side means that if enemy contests mid correctly, their TP won't help, because if you lose position on dragon against certain team comps, it's just over, right? You can't against Zoe, against champs like this.
And reactive TP is never as efficient.
Never
as,
good. Yeah.
Like Damon, they would just flash Q you with Nautilus, and your a 4-second TP channel is not gonna save
You're
anyone
dead.
on mid lane.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this concept very important. And other than that, I think we kind of. I think there was a time in the middle where we were a bit struggling with the meta, but I think we read it well now. I think we understand it very well. And
So
I mean, I think
on that topic,
yeah, sure.
Aphelios or Jinx?
I think highest level, I think Aphelios has a bit of an advantage over Jinx. I think I noticed it at the start as well. I remember, I think LFL started 1 week before LC. Every Jinx was winning, right? Then I was checking the games and I was like, okay, so every game that Jinx is carrying, she's allowed to build Kraken PD or Runans, take like all farm, all CS. I mean, all farm, she's completely undisturbed. Nobody's pressuring her. So then I came to the conclusion that if Jinx is playing into team comps where she has to build like Gale Force Cannon, so her DPS is way lower, right? It for sure like hurts her a lot. And I think over time, I realized that good Aphelioses, because for example, Korea was valuing Aphelios higher, even when Jinx was winning a lot in the region, because I think the teams were not that good yet. They were still valuing Aphelios. So, and then the more I played, I realized that a very good Aphelios, for example, you can trade Herald, you can force on root, you can poke people with sniper, you can duel people, you can always make plays, you can sneak Nasher. Like I think we sneak Nasher like 5 times in playoffs, Aphelios, and other champions cannot do this. So I personally prefer Aphelios a bit. I think it's a bit more versatile, because I mean it's not even versatile. It's like with Jinx, the way you carry is you just power farm until 3 items. You're like a hyper carry. But with Aphelios, your 1-2 item spikes are way stronger. and you can be way more active. For example, when you have Gale Force, Jinx cannot step up to you in lane if you have the correct guns. If she doesn't play cleanse and you have root, you will pretty much win every 3v3. You can set up ganks very easily. So I think for sure Aphelios is better. Because
I mean,
it kind of allows skill expression more. Yeah.
I tend to agree. I think it's like you also have after the first base, you have more tools also to play early game. And I think the Gale Force part is pretty important because I feel like whenever Jinx is allowed to play Kraken, I think it makes a huge difference in the game. And like I think you are trying to force Kraken more, even on Aphelios, no?
On Aphelios, yeah. Okay.
I think you were the one that I saw playing Aphelios Kraken.
Yes. I mean, I think, for example, some games against in finals against LDLC, it was I could play Gale Force, but I think the games against the K-Corp, Kraken was for sure correct because I was playing against Nautilus. He's just gonna ult me. LeBlanc, I can't really Gale Force much there, and I was getting fed, so I feel like Kraken is the best, obviously stat-wise, and I think people don't really realize how Kraken works on him because your ult always counts as an auto attack. So I think there was one situation where I like attacked twice and then I ulted and then it procs Kraken and the burst is actually very high. So people kind of don't realize that, I think, and are not really ready for the damage. I think there were like a lot of situations where I had a sniper, I mean a green-white, and I just ulted people on mid and they lose like 80% HP because they take extra true damage. But I agree it was not the best every game. I think the first one where I was against Renata, I could play Gale Force that game, but I was like 2-0, 20 CS up with full plates. So I just told my team, I'm just gonna go Kraken and see. I think for sure it's unexplored because it really works well with his kit. For example, if you have a turret and it hits someone, your Kraken procs super fast, or if you have the red weapon, it procs super fast. But yeah, I think I remember like the first week of LEC, I think Rogue played 2 games. Comp was playing Jinx, and they played like a full teamfight comp with Oriana Jarvan.
Yeah.
And he went like Kraken Runans, and he was taking all CS. He had like a Lulu or something. I was like, whoa, this champ is broken, But then when I saw more games, I realized that so the way the matchup works is Jinx wins until Aphelios gets chip pushes until he gets a flamethrower and purple, right? So Jinx kind of has to either base at that point or get a CS lead for trades. But I think if you manage to hold off until then and then you pressure her with a flamethrower and get ahead early, I think Aphelios for sure wins. And I think teams are realizing it too. And I think the nerfs that happened, like after like the EU Masters patch or like the LCS patch, I suppose, I don't know, I think they're playing on that one, where her mana cost on Q got nerfed and her range. I think it favors Aphelios even more because he lost only a bit of armor, which is kind of whatever, but she lost the mana cost on Q, and actually if you watched a lot of games in playoffs, a lot of Jinxes were actually in mid game because you are contesting like Baron Vision for like 2-3 minutes, right? And nobody can base because you lose control, and then you can actually go pretty fast against certain. So
yeah,
I would say Aphelios.
I think getting is an issue when you are playing Jinx, and I think also the teams have learned to take the fights better than before, which becomes not necessarily a pure full front to back team fight like it has been at the beginning of the split, which was resulting in, for example, champions like like Jinx, but in a sense like Corki and full backliners like this, because it's always harder to team fight with champions like Sylas, for example, or to fight good team fights like Sylas, like Kemi, when you have to find angles. And now I think solo laners playing through sides are getting better at it. So
for sure.
And Aphelios in those situations has more tools to, I think, to fight back against. If you are getting jumped on by Camille, for example, as Jinx, there is nothing you can.
There's not much you can do. Yeah, I mean, for example, there's a lot of teams, even in LFL. I noticed they actually know how to. When when Dragon is up and you know you can contest through mid, they actually know how to contest through like bot lane. You know, they know how to. One guy is holding mid and 4 people go through bot and then they enter through river. So stuff like this is obviously hurts front to back comps if you can flank from one side and the other and stuff. So yeah, I think it was just like Jinx was just the easiest to play. You would literally just pick it, farm, 10 CS per minute to get 2 free items. One team would maybe throw, uh, go too deep, and then you would just auto win. But I think Aphel is better, and I also think a champ that will be played a lot is Ash, for sure. I think
Yeah, but AD players usually don't want to play Ashe until like there is like a insane Korean AD who stomps a few best of 5. Then they're like, okay, maybe I will agree to play Ashe. But if they can avoid to play it, they will.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think not many people find it that fun, but you'd be surprised because when you play Jinx Aphelios for 1 month and a half every game, I think you won't any change. But I think that's just the nature of ADC. Like I remember there was one spring split where I played like 25 games of Misfortune in a row. Like just picked every on blue side or on red side every game. Obviously it gets a bit old, but I think Ash is very strong because she also good into Aphelios. Like the way just the concept works. And I saw, for example, Team Liquid has insanely high prio on it, right? Currently. And I think the champ offers a ton, obviously, of utility. They buffed her utility spells. And I don't think you need pure damage from AD carry some games. So I
think she should definitely be good in maybe especially on red side when you have to neutralize bot and play for solo lanes. I think it should be good. I want to touch on the best of 5 that you played, especially like I mean we talked a bit about the LDLC one. What about K Corp? They are playing today against in Plains. I don't know against which team actually. I don't remember the names. Hi Zuko in the chat. Nice to see that you did your routine this morning. And yeah, I wanted to have your opinion on how the best of 5 against K Corp went, because I think it's still a surprise how one-sided it looked from the perspective of the fans.
Let me just try to remember the games. But yeah, I think we kind of knew that they are going to play very aggro early. Like they have a very specific game plan to try to dive side lanes early, weak side lanes. No matter what, like either top or bot, they will try to dive. Even I think the second game where we were playing Aphelios Tankage against Rakan, like they tried to dive, even though we were like very, very high HP, but they always look for something. So we're kind of aware. I think for sure game 1 it was a mistake to leave Zeri open, but we said we're gonna trade ADCs. But I kind of like I think this champ completely breaks the rules of League right now, because she can take mid waves high alone. She builds tanky while having a ton of damage. She's safe from ganks. She doesn't need. She can literally contest mid waves 1v3, which is insane, right? She farms the fastest, and I think this champ is just stupid. But I think we kind of realized.
Why do you think she can? Because I've not been coaching while Zeri was up, so I think I have less knowledge on the champion that I have on others. And why would you say that she can contest top mid lane that high, for example?
The way she works, her Q is actually much higher range than people think. So I think it's like 700
because you throw it while
you throw it while moving, so you literally like, especially when you get 2 items, when you get Hydra, you can literally just stay max range on melee minions, Q them, and the range minions will die as well. Plus you have like 2k HP, so, and you have a dash that can go over walls. So either if you contest the wave alone, you take it, or if enemy pushes it, you just clear it in 2 seconds while using 0 mana. For example, Jinx has to use mana, and Aphelios has to use ammo, but Zeri doesn't need to use anything, just auto attacks for free, while being super tanky. She takes camps the fastest. For example, the game, I think we played a game against Vitality, the first one, where I was playing Zeri and Jessica was playing Jinx, and just by the nature of my champ and the matchup, when I get Trinity, I just slowly start getting ahead. I can start taking plates, I start taking minions, and I noticed it like in every region, it's left open a bit, and then the team loses, and then it's like never open again. Even like a good team against like worse team, they kind of never leave it open. And I think this champ is just a bit. It's just season 12, you know. But other than that, I think we realized against K Corp if we need to pick like self-sufficient side lane, which that's the first thing, and we need to pick like a strong mid jungle that can be played for, so to not allow them to just take free mid prio and go to side lanes, right? I mean, obviously, like the thing I said, it sounds very. It's just like a good draft, right? Like good side lanes and good mid jungle. But I think the big point is strong mid jungle. I think we played like a lot of Ahri and a lot of LeBlanc with Lee Sin, and these champs are obviously probably the strongest mid jungles in the game, and they always allow you to either contest 2v2 or catch people, or even if you're behind, you can like hit a charm or something like that. So I think that was like a big part of why we're
and
good in the games.
What do you think about K-Corp dynamic currently? Do you think do you see them coming back strong during EU Masters? Do you see them as the main like if you had to rank the contenders that you see in EU Masters, or maybe actually it's the fourth French team, but I mean LFL teams. But how do you see K-Corp coming back, and how do you rank the opposition?
I mean, it's actually like I think first thing is it depends how much they'll adapt, because I think it also hurt them to only play like they just played one best of 5 against LDLC, which they lost 3-0. They didn't really get to have much more games on stage, and I can guarantee you that the way they play is way better in scrims, because in scrims teams will just have a tendency to FF, and I could see why. Like K-Corp style is very like explosive, you know. They will dive you, and then they will dive you again, they'll kill you again, and then they will make a play on the other side of the map, and then the game is doomed, right? But I think, for example, LDLC kind of figured them out a bit, but I still think they are very good players that know how to play the map. I think, for example, Reckless was a good Ashe player even in the past, so I think this would fit them very well, for example. So I think they will still be a very, very strong.
Okay.
I could still see them being good. And as for ranking the teams, I mean, I would say it's the 4 LFL teams, and then it's Fnatic Academy. I think other teams, I think Gamer Legion is okay, but nothing special. They have some good players, like Sacre, for example, but I think it's for sure the LFL teams. And I would still personally put us as favorites. I think
over LDLC?
Yeah, of winning your Masters over LDLC. Yeah. I think we lost to ourselves. I think LDLC played well in a lot of moments. For example, they're very good at team fighting and finding the like weak target in the fight. For example, I don't have cleanse, or I don't have flash, or I overstep a bit. They're very good at that, but I think they were playing worse on the map, and they were opening pre lanes a lot, and they were not contesting dragons that well. So I would still put us as favorites.
I mean, I don't know if I put you guys favorite. From rewatching the game, I would say that indeed, I think you guys were playing the map better, but I think playing the team fight, I think they were just playing the team fights better most of the time.
I agree.
They coach you a few times, and I think like you can't take it away from a team. Like it's definitely part of their identity, and I think if they keep like in the end, as you said before, like you don't win the game by hitting the like since the Rise era, no one has been winning lanes by hitting a tier 2 and inhib turret by himself. You have to win the team fights, and no matter the macro, if they keep winning the fights, they will win the games. So I would put you two indeed as my favorites. If you guys improve in team fight, I think you are the favorite, because I think it's I'm not sure if they can improve their macro that fast. But indeed, I think there is like for me, those two are the favorites, and it showed during the final, because the finals in the end was maybe the closest BO5 actually I remember watching, because in the end every game came down to a few details that were extremely minor.
I think it was insanely close. I think I actually rewatched the games multiple times, and
of course.
I mean, every game was win team fight into lose team fight into win team fight into get that Drake, lose the next Drake. But I think I have to give it to them. They were for sure better in fights than us. Pretty much most games, like even the Lulu Sion game where we should be winning team fights, pretty much every team fight, I was just inting some fights. So but they're very good at knowing what they need to look for
Mhm.
sure. So I mean, I think that's a big how do you say it, like a big trait in winning teams is they know how to fight. Like for example, last year Mad was very good at team
Yep.
playing the map and team fighting, so they were losing a lot of early games, but it didn't really matter because they always knew how to create flanks and focus the correct target. So it's a big concept. I think they were better at it than us, but I also think for example, even fifth game, they just had some like Baron steals and stuff that was very unlucky. But I think they're a good team. Like honestly, you have to give them props because they were first in regular season and then they beat upper bracket 3-0, and then like
I mean,
they're a good team.
I
Sure.
think they are a good team. I think they have really good drafts, and I think the players were. I mean, as I've been saying a lot of time in during the French shows, is like they had a roster that was super high variance, where the
Yeah.
players you couldn't know if they would be the best version of themselves that people have been hyping them for
Yeah.
for a while, like Ragnar, for example, Exakik, Yike, you don't know, like it was like show, like you can't really know how Rookie is gonna turn out in his first split. DOS same, and even Eka, like I think Eka is this guy is unkillable, like he will always be at the level of the league he's playing in, and people have been burying him for a while, and he's still playing really top tier. So really props to LDLC, and I really hope to see maybe you guys in final again. I want to talk a bit about LEC too, because there were a lot of games this weekend. And we can start maybe start by the one from yesterday, because I think this is the most straightforward best of 5, with MISFIT losing to G2. I think it was expected by everyone. It was even more violent than expected in the sense that I think Caps kind of woke up yesterday. I think we haven't seen Caps playing that well for a while. Were you expecting the same result? What did you think of G2 overall?
I mean, I expected G2 to win. Maybe I miss could take a game, but I think if Caps and Jankos play like they did yesterday, then they're very scary. Obviously, like even against Vitality, Broken Blade was playing very well. So that's to be expected, right? But yesterday it was their bot lane was also winning, but a lot, like for example, it was just Caps Jankos. First game they play on top. Second game they gank bot like 5 times. They were always in good positions, and they also won both sides of the Aphelios Jinx trade. So, but yesterday probably MVP should go to either mid or jungle. They're playing very insane, and kind of glimpses of old Caps, yeah, for sure. Like I think also they draft well. Like they had like some good Cassiopeia angles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In good situations. So, I mean, I'm not sure if I would favor them against Fnatic, but they showed a good best of 5, yeah. But I also feel like that was kind of MISFIT ceiling. They hit their ceiling, and they can't go further than that for now, I guess. So, yeah. But I think it was expected result, at least the win. But maybe it looked very stomping, 3-0.
Indeed, I think I mean it was expected. I totally agree with all your points. Since you are here as the more, you have inside information from the scrims, etc. What do you think about Renata? Because there was a question in the chat, but I'm also quite curious about it. Again, that's a champion I've not been coaching while it was played, and I don't know, like I don't fully know her strength in especially in laning phase, etc. So how would you took me through this champion a bit?
I mean, she's very good into melee comps, like comps that want to go in and like bruiser fight, because first of all, she's very good at protecting chokes. She's very good at like it's like a contest on a choke, and enemy wants to go in, and then you use your ult to like burst the enemy, and you can throw 2 people together. You can, if they dive one target, you can save them with the revive thingy. She has a lot of like she has the shield and the movement speed boost and stuff like this. So she's very good like in scrappy team comps. She's very bad into like long range poke. But as you see right now, most supports are melee, right? It's like not the own tank. A lot of tank hench. She's pretty good into tank hench, I would say. So a lot of tank hench, a lot of Leona, a lot of Nautilus, and she's very good into these picks because she's like a control champ that likes people that go into her. So and right now, for example, Corki is out of meta, sort of, right? Zoe is not played much, so all these champs that would theoretically be good into her are not really played. And then there's like the added factor of like, of course she's been out for a while, but people, kind of don't know like perfectly her cooldowns and what she's weak against. There's always
So,
that factor.
because it's a bit weird because I see her a bit as an enchanter, but that is good against champions that are good against enchanters usually. So I would say a bit like it's not the same champion, but a bit the same way that, for example, Morgana was drafted in the past.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I would say it's similar to that. She's like, she wants people to go into her, and she loses to like stuff that can hurt her without going into her. But
so range basically, range and split. But in lane, like would you beat Renata more through the tools that were beating a Morgana, which were, for example, champion like enchanters like Karma, like Nami, or would you still try it because it's still pretty vulnerable in lane, right?
Yeah, for sure. Her biggest weakness in lane is she has super high cooldowns. She has like seconds on her most of her spells. So if you can bait them out with like either obviously by poking, or for example, TK can, I would say, beat her in lane because you can like Q and then W and then she doesn't have spells and then your W and Q will be up before. So her weakness is like in lane, she has very high cooldowns, but if you let her get to her like core items, for example, locket and stuff, it's obviously the best build because it has like a ton of utility, right? She just shields her teammates and stuff. But if you let her get to her core items, it's pretty hard to play against certain comps because either you like try to burst someone, they get shield, they get like revived or whatever you call their ability, or you try to go in and she just ults. For example, the first game against us.
Oh yeah, this was maybe the nastiest Renata ult I've ever seen, man.
It was so stupid because I remember it was such a choke, honestly, because for example we get Nash and pretty much the game is won, right? Like, and there's a bot wave, and I remember I asked Agressivos, Toby, should I go bot and I slow push and you come? And he was like, yeah. But I realized later there was a mistake because I should just base and then go bot, because since I ended up farming the creeps, I had like 3k gold because I didn't base after Nash. I was doing like fucking full clear at 30 minutes, which is super bad, But then what happened was we did the siege, but I had like 3.7. I had a 3k gold, and Drake was spawning. But if I actually based before, I could just buy QSS, and we could just play for end on that push even before Drake, or not, maybe not for end, but we could play for like double inhib before Drake. And since we didn't, then I ended up doing Drake and not buying QSS, and my cleanse was like 10 seconds cooldown.
It will be a good reminder for you to reset.
Sure.
It's actually I had an analogy on stream about Pink Ward, but I think it's a bit the same with reset. Resets and Pink Ward I like. Is like for ecology, everyone understands that it's a good thing to care about, but no one actually but no one cares to do it by himself. So
it's true for sure. But yeah, like I had a lot of gold, and I was like, okay, cleanse is up soon, so I'll just buy BT, and obviously we played with cleanse, and then our Nash was already timing out, so we did a fast play, or like on the wave coming when I didn't have cleanse yet. So then it was misposition. I didn't flash the Renata ult, and I just killed my whole team. But I think the champ is for sure good in certain spots. Again, I still don't think people play against it perfectly, but I think it for sure has its slots. I think it's very good into like tank and comps that cannot engage on her, where you can't engage, but you can't really poke her out. So you need to like go scrap fight into her. She's very good into that. And obviously the meta ADC right now is 2 hyper carries, and she's very good with hyper carries. See? So I think the meta fits her very well. And there's a lot of bruisers in jungle, a lot of bruisers top. that's also what she likes playing with. Like she likes playing with bruisers and hyper carries, right? Because of her buffs that she has. So the meta is very, very good for her right now. But I think I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like S tier. I would just say it's a strong champ, but it's not like unbeatable or anything like that. You just kind of need to know. For example, one thing with her is like when she does the little revive thing, people don't realize that you just need to walk away and let it time out.
Yeah.
For a lot of time, they just go in and then maybe you can give her a reset or stuff, or maybe use too much cooldowns on her because at that point she's already dead, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely strong, but I wouldn't I'd suppose it that other S12 champs. So it has never looked that broken to me actually, compared to like, of course, the ult that she did on you guys maybe was a bit highlight play, but it actually doesn't happen often. It's actually pretty hard to land a good ult unless you deserve it because of the position that you put yourself in. So I think actually I'm not a big hater of the champion, despite how broken some mechanics can look. Like I think it's way better than champions like Yumi, for example. Or
For sure, I think the champion has clear counterplays. Just when you lose to it, it feels like stupid. Like obviously it feels stupid to just kill your whole team into auto attacks, but I mean you can. I had gold for QSS. My cleanse was up in 5 seconds, or I could just flash the ult, or I could, like what happened was Nar ulted me, which popped tank. So there's like 4 different things that you can do, right? It's not like Yumi where she's untargetable and poking you for 1k with Q, like it was in like 2019. You know? So for sure, I think the design is good, honestly, because it was OP and they nerfed her numbers a bit. So I would say now she's kind of
I think it's I think the Morgan analogy is pretty good, and I think it kind of fills a role that was not being filled at the moment. Now let's talk a bit about before finishing, I think, by the most interesting one, which has been Fnatic against Rogue. Let's talk about Vitality best of 5, because it was actually very surprising to see them going down 0-3 against G2. Like I had them favorite. I mean, they have never played that well during the split, but on one hand I was hearing that they were great in scrims, but as per usual it doesn't mean much. And on the other hand, for me, like, you know, in the big matches, the big players gonna come back in and show up, you know, and like this lineup definitely has some insane players. In the end, it ended up being super disappointing. This best, like, it really felt like, and you can have the same impression by looking at all the so-called super teams, because it was the same with Fnatic on Saturday, and it was a bit the same with K-Corp when they lost 3-0 to LDLC. Like, it felt like the teams kind of crumbled during the best of 5, and it just collapsed after, especially after second game. Like the third game was it was mind-blowing how they lost by themselves. Like it's one of the few games where I see a team, I mean, where every player has been playing like every player from Vitality played better than his counterpart during the third game, but somehow they still lost, you know. And so yeah, I think it was pretty insane to see how the team collapsed. What's your take on this current form of Vitality?
I mean, I can. I just want to say the thing comes first, but okay. So for sure, I mean, obviously they were like struggling in regular season, but people always expect like players of that caliber to like step up in best of 5s. But for example, I think first game. Okay, so I'm watching right now. First game, they gave Zeri.
I think I can put them on the stream.
Oh yeah.
Up, no, like this. I think you have it. Yep.
Yeah. So, I think first game, I think you should not give Zeri. I think I honestly, like, I think this champ, anyway, it's nerfed on EU Masters patch, so it doesn't matter what I say. But I think this champ was S+ tier. I think I remember watching statistics in like top regions, and she was winning like 75% of the time against Jinx. And for example, they traded it for Aphelios. I think it was a big mistake. I think this champ is just OP. So, and I think G2 also played the reset comps, you know, with Lissandra Viego, play for first target. So I think Caps is like the only one actually playing Lissandra into LeBlanc, or not like one of the only ones. I think Nugdak played it too, but it seems like Caps likes it a lot. And the second game, what happened was I think Broken Blade played the Jacks into Camille, right? I believe, and he just got extremely fed. He like killed top, and then he got another kill because Selfmade tried to kill him and died, and he just snowballed out of control that game. And then third game
was
felt
insane.
like, yeah, it felt like they actually figured them out a bit. You know, they chose the side. They did the bans they wanted to do. For example, they banned Hekarim, right, and LeBlanc. Then they got a early game jungler like Volibear. They got Aphelios into Jinx, which you can pressure early. And Karzi was actually winning bot lane every game this series, right? Karzi and Labro. They were actually winning bot every game. So they win top lane, like they neutralized top Jace into Irelia, and they were winning bot very hard. So they get like a big lead. They killed the Irelia like twice, I believe. They killed the Lulu. They have complete map control, 3 dragons. They're stomping every fight. And then I remember the objective bounties start happening, and it's like third Drake, I believe, or fourth. And they herald mid and then give the Drake, but they don't even take the mid tower. And then they lose tempo on the map, and then they give like 3 tier 1s with objective bounties and the Drake. So they give like 2k gold just in objective bounties. Mm-hmm. And then like the Nash gets stolen, and then you can just like the slow decline. And then they just start taking like bad fights.
It felt a bit like they were cursed, you know, which has been the thing with Vitality for a while now, and I kind of felt it too. But when you get Nash stolen, Drake stolen, like when the Drake they get Drake stolen, right? I think at some.
I think I'm not sure about Steel, but I know they.
I mean, 50. I think there was a 50-50.
I'm not like all I know is that they like. Yeah, it was the Nash Steel, which was the big, because they had like 8k lead or something, a massive gold lead at that point, and then you like know that the objective bounties set in, and when you see the objective bounties going down, it's like in the back of your head, oh, actually, what if we throw this game, you know? And then
Cap stole the soul, but but I think the worst moment is when they start chasing to the tier 2.
Yes,
the fight is there is no fight anymore. Then I think they can at this point. I think it was the soul. I think
it was soul. Like if they yes. They could have taken soul. Yes.
The game was basically over, and I don't know. Like they started chasing to.
Yep, and then they all die or something, and then they lose. Yeah, so it's a Nash steal, a Dragon steal, and then an overchase. So either of 3 of these things don't happen, and they win the game. So it's like, yeah, I mean that's pretty unlucky. Obviously, yeah, I mean, obviously they could be more disciplined, but it's very unlucky.
But in the end, like I think 3-0 don't come from nowhere. So that's also the thing.
Course.
I think this game, I think there is not many multiverse in which Vitality were losing this game, but they ended up losing the third one. However, I think you don't get 3-0 for no reason, and for sure this team had issues. I think they can. I mean, I think for me, like I placed them second on my tier list in spring, and I would still place them second if I had to redo it, you know, on paper. But I think it didn't work this split. For sure, they can come back in summer, but at some point, I mean, I've been saying this for the whole split already, you know, and who knows if they can come. Do you believe in this version of Vitality?
I mean. When I look at the names, I do, you know, but then I see them like not doing that well. But I still think they will be good in summer. Maybe I'm just thinking wrong, but I still see them being able to go to Worlds. Like, why not? Look at their names, and they're good players. Everyone knows what, like, they've all won before. Like, why would they not, you know? But I don't know. Either the game is moving in a different direction, like away from individual stuff, where it's more like team cohesion, and it's like such a weird thing to say because. You know, when you tell someone that it's about how a team clicks together, it's kind of hard to explain because it's like you know what I mean, right? Like you can't see team chemistry, so to speak. Like, or you can see it, but you can't predict it, right? You can't say like, oh, this team will click super well or this team won't click super well.
To be fair, I think I agree, because I've been trying to do this, and I remember like last year, for example, at Vitality, it looked super good before. I mean, even before you arrived. Like even when there was comp, it looked super good during preseason, in scrims and team cohesion. We put a lot of emphasis on this, and in the end, it's not like the team cohesion was bad, but the team morale really like got destroyed after the first week, and it's really hard to predict. However, I would say a good counter example for it is the current version of G2. Is I think for me, they didn't recruit all-star lineup. I think, to be fair, I think Flackhead is playing pretty well at the moment, but he was definitely not the hottest guy in the room when during off-season. I think, Caps was not the best version of himself at the time, but I doubt they would replace Caps. Broken Blade, I think, arguably was one of the best pickup on top lane, but for example, maybe another team would have recruited Alphari again.
True.
And support Targamas again. Targamas is really good. He was coming from regional. It's from a team like G2 that you are expecting them to play, like for example, World Finals, etc. around Caps.
Yeah, I agree.
Recruiting someone even from that who had an insane year like at K Corp, like Targamas, is still a risk. But I think if you look at the profile, and for me, what I've heard like from backstage about those players, pretty much all of them were good guys and smart. Like Broken Blade, I think I've only heard positive things about this guy.
I've heard really about.
Yeah, like every like super good teammate, super nice guy, really good. Caps, he looks. I think he's kind of in his own world, but he looks pretty chill to be around. Same for Jankos. Flackhead looks like a super nice guy.
I can imagine when you're Flackhead and Targamas and you get recruited for a team like this. If you're not nice, you're just stupid. Let's put it plainly. Like obviously, that's what they're props to them, right? Because they're doing a good job. But like obviously, when you're put into a team with teammates of this caliber, you kind of know that you'll be learning a lot from them. So you need to obviously be very open-minded. And from what I see, that's exactly what they're doing. But I also feel like for example, Botlane right now, like the meta is so uninteresting that it's very easy to plug and play players in, But I agree, like they're doing a very good job. I think they have very good like meta read and identity. They always know what they want to play. They always, if they give LeBlanc, they play Lissandra to play reset comps. Broken Blade has his like special picks top lane that he likes playing. You know what I mean? So I think this is like a big part, honestly. But obviously, on first glance, I agree. Like their roster is not like as all-star as Vitality, but they still have world-class players, I would say. So. But yeah, that goes back to my point. It's always the thing where like generally super teams don't work out, but I think it's a bit too early to call. Because I'd like to actually check how many teams that did good in spring actually end up going to Worlds in summer. I think the correlation is probably not super high, maybe it's about 50-50, but I'm sure that
didn't Origin, I think, ended up being second in spring and last in summer, for example. Or
like, for example, would you, if you had to predict now, right? Would you say that the top 3 right now are going to be top 3 in summer for Worlds, or not? Like right now, it's Rogue, Rogue, Fnatic. Right?
to be fair, I think that's likely. However, I think the other 3 is likely to change a lot. For example, MISFIT. For example, I see Mad becoming better than
Mad. Yeah, back. I think Mad probably.
I think Mad is gonna should push MISFIT out, and but the power ranking among the 6 is very likely to change, because I think the level of LEC has been, and I'm not I'm not used to be downplaying the love, like saying we are shit compared to LEC. That's really, I've never been doing it, but this year I think it's a bit, the level is a bit disappointing compared to what we could have hoped, especially basically the super teams. Like there was kind of an expectation on a hype on super teams. Like finally this year we are gathering all the talents in 2 teams. and those two teams, like Vitality has been disappointing for the whole split, but even Fnatic, honestly, and I've been saying this and criticized by some French fans a lot for this, but I've never been convinced even by the Fnatic from this year either. I've never felt like it was a top team. I think they were winning a lot, but I never felt like I never had the feeling while watching Fnatic that it was a very solid top team. Like you are watching a really elite team. Like for example, when you were watching Mad Lions last year in Europe, but when you are watching top Korean teams. And it exploded in the end for Fnatic.
I mean, for example, I still expect, like, if I would have to say, I would always say Fnatic is gonna win just because of the names and stuff.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Like Humanoid, who won both splits, Healy upset the best bot lane last year, or like depends Hans Streamby, but those two were the best, right? Wunder obviously super good, and Razork also was very good in his team. So obviously people expect this team, but I agree sometimes they look a bit maybe, I don't know, that they're still either trying out stuff or they're not sure yet. But again, it's like, I don't know how much of it is actually spring, because it's people like, it's funny because, like, fun story, last year when I was not in LEC in spring, I was watching spring games. I thought, holy, like, these teams are not playing good, you know. But in summer I felt like they improved, but maybe that's also like cope from me because when I started playing and I thought they improved. But for example, I really felt like in spring the level was not super high, but maybe it wasn't high in summer either. But I do think in summer teams got better.
I think definitely the level got better in summer for sure. But I also think that both of us being out of LEC makes us being harsher, because when you don't see, like, it's not about being jealous or anything. I think it's more by not being in the process of, like, when you see all the scrims while people are doing this kind of stuff and tend to converge to those decisions. I think that's why we at the moment we maybe feel that way a bit.
Yeah, but for example, even in last spring, in spring it was SK and MISFITs making it, and then in summer they didn't, right? Like, I think it was with us on Vitality instead and someone else, I think. But I think, for example, SK in spring as 6th seed was not as good as us in spring, you know, for example, because I remember I felt like that the general level of the league went up in summer, because for example, even Mad Lions was losing most of regular, and then in playoffs they just won against everyone randomly. But I think they for sure leveled up, you know. Maybe they were the biggest factor, right? Because they did not look as dominant, and then in playoffs they were just beating everyone. It looked like kind of easily. I mean, not easily, but they were pretty much beating everyone. But I think, back to my point, obviously it's like the point system is gonna help teams a lot in summer. But maybe I could see like one team swapping for top 3. But for example, like, I would expect Fnatic to be G2. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would still expect them. And then if Rogue Fnatic is top 2, I would still expect them to be top 2 in summer, because they'll have a ton of points. They're both good in regular season. Obviously, you have to give props to Rogue that they changed, like, supposedly their 2 best players, and they still do so good in regular season. Obviously, they can figure something out. So I
see Rogue a bit like LDLC. I think in both cases, I underestimated them pretty hard in my preseason tier list. I think there are good pickups among Rogue. I think Comp got way better. I mean, he has always been insane individually, mechanically, right? But he was. I think he got more mature after his year on the bench, which I think was his biggest weakness. And Malrang, I think, is the.
I think Malrang is the biggest standout.
Is the biggest deal, and props to them for realizing he was insane. And LDLC also, they had good pickups again, high variance, and they had, but also they had this, I think, style that was set from the first week, where I think they had a really good read from the first week on the meta, and I think it helped them create a dynamic. I think people really underestimate in a season of best of one how a dynamic can shape the whole season. Like for example, Vitality. I mean, us Vitality last year, it was exactly this. We crumbled on first week, and the team, I think it would have been a different year. But even this year, Vitality, when they get 0-3 on first week, and I think it put, you know, the virus, like the seed in the team. Even if it looked like they came back, like, I think from the get-go, like, this whole expectation of super team, of the unbeatable titans, etc. Like you saw that it crackled from the beginning, and as soon as this happened, I think there was an issue in the team. While Rogue LDLC, it has been always like a slow ramp up, but starting from a good position. So yeah, I want also to talk about the big match Rogue Fnatic, because we have been talking about the teams already, but the best of 5 was actually insane. Rogue were looking doomed after 2 games, honestly. Like really doomed. Like we were even seeing Wunder hard carrying on GP after second game. Like if Fnatic are stomping Rogue with their bot lane being actually pretty bad, I would say, this game. Like they were playing Caitlyn Thresh, and they are like 2 plates down against an Aphelios Lulu. Like for me, it should be pretty over. But Wunder was insane on GP, and then the first pick TF three games in a row.
3 times in a row. Yes,
and
I have a lot of opinions actually on this series. So just to touch on your point about the identity fast, I think it's extremely important, because if you have it set as soon as possible, then you don't need to do like, soul searching in the middle. When you have like the team talk, okay guys, so what's our identity? What are we good at? And then if you have to waste time to figure that out, it obviously hurts you. While if a team like Rogue that is very disciplined, they say, okay, we will play strong bot lanes, our jungler will play early facilitators, our top lane will just play whatever for the team comp, and our mid will always play like something that he will always be good in the game with, right? It's very simple to draft, because you know exactly what you want to play, you know exactly first pick, you know exactly how you need to play in the game. So you just save yourself ton of time in scrims, ton of useless practice days, So yeah, that's the first point. And second one is about Rogue Fnatic. It's like they were 2-0 up, and then I think the mistake they did is they played TF, but one game they played it with Sion top.
It was
Jinx
terrible draft.
Jinx Trash. And I think what pretty much the only thing you can criticize Upset for is, I think a lot of some games he tends to build too defensively. For example, he had a Trash and a TF and a Sion, so he was pretty much the only damage in the team. And enemy had they had some dive, but he has like a Trash, supposed to be ahead from lane because he has a TF and a Trash. So he should probably go Kraken and full damage, but he went like RFC, he went Gale Force Cannon, right? So you have a Sion that obviously not gonna carry, a TF that obviously is not gonna like kill people, and then your Jinx is like not building aggressively enough. So I just think they ran out of damage, and I think Thresh is a bait pick. I think in the past this champ was strong enough to actually, you would just bully lane, 20 CS up, 30 CS up, like you'd play Thresh Kalista or like all the Aphelios Thresh, and it really felt unplayable because like into this. And I agree, because I was also one of the people, I hated playing against Thresh,
I mean, we had this discussion a lot, I remember, last spring.
yes. Yeah, like I hated playing against this champ, but the more you play against it now, you realize that, first of all, for example, it's like a famous matchup. It's like, Nautilus Jinx into Thresh Aphelios, or like swapped around. Jinx Nautilus wins early. Aphelios Thresh is not even that strong level 1 anymore. Like Jinx can just push you. Nautilus into Thresh is not that bad anymore. Like it's not like you will just flash play and lantern gank. You will not like hook people and one-shot them. And Rogue was actually getting away with just picking Rakan, going even for Aphelios Rakan, and then just outscaling, right? So I think Fnatic should move away from it and just give Healy more agency. I mean, he was one of the best Rakan players in the server. So I mean, in the region. So I think that's the one thing. And then if you play TF comps, play like carry stop, don't play like Sion, or play like just play more damage team comps, because I think it suits them better. Or if they play lower damage comps, then Upset needs to go like more damage build. But I think they should just play higher damage team comps. And then I guess it's just like, so first game they lose, they're like, okay, whatever, we just misplayed a bit. Then they go fourth game where they mess up level 1, so the game is like over level 1. And then probably they went into fifth game and they said, no, it's fine, like we just messed up level 1, right? It's gonna be fine. And then they just like lose, But I still would favor them against them. But you also have to give props to Rogue for like adapting, because it's not easy to be 0-2 down and then Obviously they changed stuff up. I think they
especially
gave
especially against Fnatic, to be honest, because when you are like there is a bit of a story, you know, when you are Rogue, you are the story about you is often that should be that you choke in playoffs, and the story about Fnatic is they are kind of a winning team. So when you face them in playoffs as a team that is currently rising, like there is kind of a fate, you know, that you should be losing, and then you are getting 0-2, then the story is repeating again. And to come back from it, I think is even more impressive from Rogue, and it shows. I think this third game shows a lot of what the team has, how they improved and what they are becoming. I think I was impressed by Larsen's interview after the game. I remember he was really not shaky, but you know, still very excited after the win, and I think. Like if I gather a few of his interviews and interviews about Rogue, is that you know, Inspired and Hans, when they left, like everyone, me included, were thinking. I mean, a lot of people, maybe some had better view on it, and props to them. But were thinking, okay, they are losing two of their most insane players. It would be a huge hole to fill. And I remember, I think Larsen was saying, it gives me more room to assert my ideas and to express myself, and I have to take more responsibility. And after this best of 5, he said, in third game, I felt like we needed to change and to play more proactive, which is something that often has been said, Larsen has been criticized for. And he said, okay, I'm gonna take the responsibility and pick the Silas and go for it. And he played insanely. And I think it's really big props to Larsen for stepping up in this kind of moment, and I think the whole team kind of followed afterwards. So I think this version of Rogue is really impressive for now, and I think they can cross the bridge now after this best of 5. I think they actually became really one of the they became for good one of the top teams in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Like they just put more agents. Trimby, Larsen.
Yeah.
They adapted well. All the things that people criticize them for, they kind of proved people wrong. So yeah, you know, for sure, props to them. But I mean, in my mind, I still see Fnatic winning, but maybe I'm completely wrong. You know, I don't know. It depends how well they adapt, but generally, I would say they have players that know how to adapt. They've played a ton of best of 5s, so I feel like they can still pull it out. But yeah, for sure, a very, very good showing by Rogue, because like felt like the first 2 games were actually close, even though Fnatic was stomping early games. Rogue ended up making them close, and then the last 3, it didn't really feel close. You know what I mean? It just felt like Rogue was in control for most of them. So I mean, that's a very good best of 5 from them.
So sure. I have a slight theory about what happened to Fnatic, because you know, I think there is always a discussion about scrims versus online versus real games, and teams using it as excuses. But I don't think it's not often. I mean, it's not necessarily an excuse. It's just that you have so much. Like there is so much of a dissonance between what when you are winning stream, between what you are expecting and what you get, then you are that you don't even understand how it's possible. But in the end, it's still the same, because it's still the same game. Like
it is the same game.
Yes. It's literally the same game and the same teams. So it's not like you are just practicing like in football. It's literally the same thing. It's just not the same setup. And,
exactly.
And some players are good at it, and some players are not. But what I want to say about Fnatic is that I've been hearing that their scrims were really chaotic from a lot of teams, and they were still winning scrims stage, you know. And for me, this is not a sustainable situation, and at some point it breaks. And I had this exact moment at Splice. Just before going to Worlds, where we were first during regular season, but we were losing a lot in scrims, but still winning pretty much everything on stage until we lost to Fnatic. And since then, like, it felt like suddenly we realized, oh, actually we are shit. we are as shit on stage as we are in scrims, and we didn't win a single game in the next 2 weeks, and we got 0-3 in players by Rogue.
I remember.
And it took us 1 month and a half to come back. But I remember, like, back in the days, I was saying, okay, we need to change this in scrims, we need to change this, but people were so happy to win on stage. Like, basically scrims don't matter, you know. And I think this is not sustainable situation. And did this happen to Fnatic in a sense that they were living in a false sense of security because of how they were performing on stage? And third game, they get the best champion, but they have a pretty shitty draft overall. They get stomped, and it felt like the team broke, you know, like as if maybe realization that actually it's actually the same game, you know, and you are facing Rogue, who are notorious for being super good in scrims and super disciplined, and they were playing the same game.
Yeah, I think that's the main point. Like, I think it's both. I think the main point is that Rogue is known to be very disciplined. Like, everyone, I think if you ask someone what's the best team, they'll all say Rogue. Like last summer, I remember a lot of scrims we played, complete fist fights, like 40, 50, 60 kills, and then you play Rogue. Okay, maybe you fight a lot, but the game was always very like proper, you know. I don't know how else to describe it. I think everyone knows that played that, but it's like it's not like flipped in a level 2 crap contest. It's not like flipped on an invade. They play properly, you know, with prios, with this, like this, proper macro. So it feels very good for everyone to play, because it feels like a stage game. And when Rogue permanently practice that way, when teams, like, it's undeniable by now that scrims and stage are different for most teams, because most people are limit testing more in scrims. They're not afraid to like 2v2 kill level 2, you know. They will just flip, for example, while on stage. One side knows, okay, I'm losing here, I'll just give prior. You know, in scrims they will just like contest and see what happens. So the main thing is that Rogue plays same. They are very disciplined on stage and in scrims. And when maybe Fnatic realized that they were not able to get the same leads that they were in scrims, they maybe started crumbling a bit. But I guess it ended up being very good for Rogue, because I think that was a big factor for sure. And I think it helps. I mean, because at this point you can't deny that Rogue has been first in regular season for like 4 splits in a row. Or they've been top 2.
Yeah.
Every split they're top 2 now for like how long? So obviously they're doing something wrong. Right.
Coming back to the scrim discipline, you know, Rogue has always been at least if not always good, but always disciplined team to practice against, even back in the Rocket days, because it's the same staff, the same team. It's just like they rebranded this, but it's the same concept. And and one thing is for sure is that you don't practice to become an insane team by practicing wrong. Like, I don't believe in this theory. I think you can. It's good. Like, practicing well doesn't mean that you have to play fully safe nonstop and not play super try hard comps constantly. You have to be creative in scrims. You have to try stuff, but you have to be mindful about what you are doing and trying to set yourself goals, etc. And I feel like Rogue are the best at it. I've been the best at it for a while, and I think their discipline now shows, and so double reason to congratulate this team. And I think that's actually a good thing for Europe, because honestly, I think in the past years, I think the fact that Fnatic and G2 in the past like 6, since forever, but I would say since I've been a coach, you know, Fnatic and G2 being the best teams kind of dictated how the trainings, what was the training behavior, and both teams, especially Fnatic, have been known to not really always treat
they're
scrims,
very scrappy, yes.
Yeah, and not treat scrims seriously, and pretending like it's a good thing. Like, for example, I'm sure that the G2 that went final at Worlds would have been better if could have even been better than this if they were more disciplined.
Yeah, but, for example,
go for it. Yeah,
I can tell you from last summer, a lot of scrims we won were literally just one of skill checks. Like, Selfmade would go river, outplay the enemy jungler, get the crab, 1v1 the jungler, invade, take 2 camps, and then game was kind of over, right? Because my jungler is a level up with full info, and obviously Selfmade is insane at playing that style, right? and our leader would just kill people level 2 mid, or we would be 2v2ing people level 3, and then so you're like 4-0 in kills at minute 5. Obviously the game is like over, right? And then I remember, because I, I actually, Mephisto can confirm, maybe he's still in the chat, there was a week where we went 18-1 in scrims, or 18-0, 18-0, and we went 0-2 on stage.
I remember because he told me the day before.
Yes.
I told him like, how is it going?
Yes.
He told me, it's never been better. At least in training, we have not lost. I think we lost one game in the whole week. I'm super confident. I'm like, okay, and then I'm like 0-2, and I just messaged him like, I'm sorry, bro.
Yes, I remember. We were, I think it was 18-0 or 18-1, like something like this. And the only game we lost was a Baron throw or something stupid. And I remember thinking, I think I said to Mephisto, I was like, it just feels weird. Like we're just like, because we're just winning, but it didn't feel like we're that much, like, I don't know. It felt like we're just scrapping, ended up winning. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, I don't understand. Like, the ways we were arriving at wins didn't feel like organic. I mean, it was not like we were playing maps super well, trading super well, doing Drake super well. We would just literally win 2v2 bot pretty much against everyone at that point. Mid jungle would be winning, top would be winning. So of course you're gonna win if everyone is winning. But and then on stage, teams prepare, like, especially for you, right? For example, we scream against, I don't know, I don't want to say any team because I actually don't remember who scream, but we scream against one team, and then the bans are a certain way, and then we go on stage, and obviously they play different, right? Because you can't draft, like, you can try to simulate draft, but it will always be a bit different. So the champions are different, or they will ban certain champions against you. So a lot of stuff can be super different. And I remember after 1-0-2, I was like, so stupid, like, what do scrims matter if you have 80% win rate and it actually means absolutely nothing? But I think, it's a lot about how you practice, and about which concepts
and how you practice doesn't indeed. It's not necessarily about winning. It's more about how you approach practice and how seriously you take the games and what you can take from it, for sure. So people don't misinterpret what we are saying about practice. But anyway, the Fnatic best of 5 was surprising but revealing, I would say, a lot, even if I think Fnatic can still pick it up. Even if I would say when you get shattered like this, 1 week is pretty short to pick yourself up. But then again, we are talking about really elite players. I think a player like Hidisang and Humanoid both are players that sometimes have pretty high lows, I would say, low lows in the sense like and pretty high highs, and they were pretty bad in the last 3 games for sure. Hidi, when he runs down hard. But when I think at any point he can be the best player in the game next week. So I'm kind of optimistic still for Fnatic. I think we are coming to an end. I just wanted to ask you a last question, Crownie. What are the bot lanes that you are currently looking at? If you when you are watching VOZ in the world, for you, what are because I know that you are watching a lot of knowing how you work, you are watching a lot of players, and who are you looking up to at the moment?
I mean, I will say you probably know every bot laner will say the same. Everybody says Gumayusi carry, obviously, but I mean, on this point, I think both of them are insane, but I think people don't realize that Keria is probably the best player in the world right now. I think. Apparently, he's always shot calling everything for them, every herald play, every map trade. Anyway, because so obviously T1 is very good, but I think for that I was watching. Obviously, EDG botlane was very good. I mean, mainly Viper. I think Meiko was a bit worse now, but I also think Deft and Teddy in Korea are insane. I think Deft's laning has been insane for a long time now, and I think it was just his support. Teddy's as well. I think they're both insane players. So there's a lot you can learn. And for example, one thing I can say I learned from them is I was playing PTA on Aphelios a lot, and then I saw that they were going fleet, and I realized, if you play fleet into Jinx and you can just trade into her and then out sustain with fleet. You can also start Doran's Blade if you want. And then when you have Flamethrower, if you double Q the wave with Fleet and Doran's Blade, you have so much sustain that you can literally just play war of attrition with her, you know. And then obviously every jinx, when you play sniper, they're gonna trade back with cannon, right? And every jinx, like it was happening in screens that I would just trade it to them, and then by level 3 they would already be while I would be full mana with overheal and fleet, and I would just say, okay guys, in 2 waves this lane is over. Enemy jinx can't do anything at all, right? I have full control over the wave. So I noticed that they were playing fleet every game, and I was at first I was like, oh, this is so, like, why are they playing fleet? You know, this is so stupid. But then I studied it a bit more closely, and I realized that that's why they do it. And I think it was very smart, honestly, by them, and maybe that's why they actually prefer the Aphelios, because I was always a bit surprised that they had so little jinx prio at the start. But I think yeah, as I said, I think it's Aphelios' favorite at the highest level. But I think all the Koreans pretty much have insane laning. I think in EU it's upset Hylissang for sure. I think I will always have a deep level of respect for them because I lost them, you know, last summer. But I think they are very, very high level laning, rogue bot lane also. But I think from scrims, I think I can say that me and Lotte were winning against even middle tier LEC bot lanes, even towards the higher tier as well, actually. But I think Rogue Fnatic are for sure the best. But the others we had no issue. So I would say that we're the best here. But I think Koreans are the best to watch it.
I will keep the question about when do we see you in LEC for myself. I hope the soonest possible. Thank you, Crownie, a lot for coming to talk into this stream. Maybe we can do this another time at some point. Well, it was great. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, always great. Yeah, thank you for the invite. It's always fun.
Nice. It was really good. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I hope that you understood perfectly our English. And maybe we see you around, Crownie. Thank you also, Casual, of course, our sponsor, for this show. And see you guys on.
Thank you very much for